Hi, I'm Dr. Kenyn Cureton, Vice President for Church Ministries with the Family Research Council. Family Research Council is basically a DC spinoff of Focus on the Family, founded by Dr. James Dobson back in 1983 to defend and advance faith, family, and freedom from here in our nation's capital. And one of the things that when you look at what we do as an organization, our vision is an American culture where human life is valued, families flourish, and religious liberty thrives. That's really what we're about here at Family Research Council. Just think of us as your missionaries in D.C. because that's really who we are. But you know, when you think about those three things right there, life and family and religious liberty, things aren't going so well for those things right now, are they? I mean, human life has become more and more disposable. Marriage has been radically redefined. Religious liberty, religious freedom is under fire. And a lot of people ask me, as I go from church to church, I was a pastor for 20 years and now lead a ministry to pastors, they're constantly asking me as I'm going around the country, what can we do about it? We have solutions, and that's what we want to share with you today. And one of those solutions, obviously, is to get on our faces before the Lord and cry out for His mercy, amen. But then secondly, we need to get on our feet and do something about it. And one of the things that you can do is to try to establish in your church a culture impact ministry. And it's pretty simple. We make it easy. In fact, there are nearly 5,000 of these culture impact ministries all around the country in all 50 states. And we've got all kinds of resources for you to make it simple. We've got a culture impact team manual that's got everything you need. It's stocked, locked, loaded, and packed with everything that a church needs to start a ministry like this in your congregation. And so just simply go to cultureimpact.org and begin to download the resources. Go to the resource page, and there are all kinds of resources you can get. One of those is a really simple little brochure that you could take to your pastor, and that's called Launching a Culture Impact Ministry. It's a little trifold brochure. There's also a 5-step quick start guide that helps you understand what a culture impact team does within a local congregation with a focus on voting and getting people out to vote. But all the tools are there for you, including a voter impact toolkit. All kind of voter resources you're going to find at cultureimpact.org and go to the resources page. You got everything you need right there. But let's talk about launching a culture impact ministry in your church. What's the purpose of a culture impact team ministry? It's to assist the pastor and the church leadership in equipping the congregation to respond as the salt and the light to the moral issues that impact the community, the state, and the nation. So that's really what it is, bottom line. Now let's talk about why a team, because there's always these passionate people that come up to me and say, hey, I just want to lead a ministry, I want to do something in the church. Well, don't do it by yourself. You need a team of people. You need to have somebody to have your back. The Scripture's real clear about the benefits of that. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So you need a team. Now, what is the ministry of the Culture Impact team? And we're going to spend a lot of time on this in another video, but just briefly, it's 4 things. Inform, equip, alert, and mobilize, okay? 4 things, pretty simple. First of all, it's to inform, to let the congregation know about the moral issues being debated and acted on in the public arena. Bible says my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and isn't that true in congregations today? People just don't even know what's going on out there as far as the threats to life and family and religious liberty. Secondly, the ministry of the Culture Impact team is to equip them. Don't just tell them about the problems, help them, move toward a solution, right? And that's what we're supposed to do, especially pastors. We're to equip the saints for the work of ministry. Scripture teaches that. Then thirdly, the ministry of the Culture Impact team is to alert. It's to sound the alarm. We are biblical watchmen. That's what we're about. We're to tell people about the threats to life and the threats to family and the threats to religious liberty that are going on every day in the culture. And then fourthly and finally, we are to mobilize them. We don't just tell them about it and have them all frustrated. We give them something to do, right? We mobilize them and get them out to unify on one purpose and move on that problem or that opportunity that we have to advance life and to advance family and to advance religious liberty. So that's basically what a culture impact team does. Again, we're going to have a whole video that's just focused on those 4 things. But how do I get started? You say, okay, that's great, sounds good. Where do I start? All right, well, here it is. First of all, you want to form the team, then develop a statement of mission or purpose, organize the members of that team, and develop a budget for it, set up a culture impact center in your church, and then begin your strategy meetings and some practical projects. Let me break that down for you just a bit. First of all, form the team. There are 2 ways to do this, okay? The best way to do it is to start with the pastor. All right, if you're an interested and passionate individual in your church, do not pass go, do not collect $200 as we do in Monopoly. Go straight to the pastor, okay? Directly to the church leadership team and get permission. Don't skip this step. I see a lot of frustrated people in churches out there who may be frustrated with their pastor because the pastor's not going to move on this or that. But don't try to do this without his leadership. It will fail. So whether a pastor starts it, which is the best case scenario, or you go to your pastor, do not skip that step. Make sure your pastor blesses this, okay? And then secondly, once you have the blessing of the pastor, then again, key submitting to his authority and getting buy-in, then develop a mission statement. We've got all kinds of these in the manual, some great samples here. I'll just roll through them pretty quickly here. This was my church that I pastored back some years ago, and we had a culture impact team there in that church. And then of course here is the mission statement for the Watchman Ministry, and you'll be hearing from Gina Gleason as well. This is their mission statement. There's some great ones in the manual, and so just look at those, prayerfully think about them, but you really need to think through and pray through what you're doing and why you're doing it, okay? Mission and purpose statement. Very important to go back to so that you don't have what we call mission creep, which is easy to do with a committee or a team in a church, all right? So here's the next step as you're getting started. You need to organize your members. Okay, here's some jobs to do on the team, right? Various roles for people to play, right? Leadership, you need somebody who's going to lead this thing. Okay, if I'm talking to pastors right now, if you're a pastor watching this, you know there are people in your church who are very passionate about the issues, but you can't hand this to that person. They are not maybe trusted by the people or could influence the people to move in a particular direction. As one guy put it out in California, a dear friend of mine, he said, don't give it to the guy with crazy eyes, okay? Because there are people out there that are a little bit squirrely, and you know what I'm talking about, a little extreme. Give it to a person, give the leadership to a person, ask a person to lead who is respected by the congregation, okay? Somebody who has influence with the congregation. You've got the leader and the skill set that they need for that position. And then communications. We need somebody to communicate with the congregation. Somebody savvy with social media, somebody who can craft email alerts and whatever. So you need somebody to do communications on the team. You need somebody to do research. And again, we make it easy. We've got a lot of great research on frc.org on all the issues. But you've got to have somebody who's digging down, making sure that you know what you're talking about. Don't go to the pastor with fake stuff. There's all kind of fake stuff going around the internet. People sending emails that have no basis in reality. Make sure that what you take is lock solid to the pastor. Otherwise, he's not going to let you bring stuff before the church, okay? So you've got somebody doing that. Also, somebody who will mobilize the congregation. Okay, you've alerted them, you've equipped them, you've told them here's the problem and here's the solution, here's what we need to do. You need to have somebody on the team who doesn't have any problem asking people to do something, who's willing to go out and grab, I need you 3 people to come help me with this. And people respond to it. You need somebody on the team that has that gift, right? Because otherwise, you guys will just be informing people and nothing will ever get done, right? And then we need everybody working on strategy. Everybody thinking about how can we best plan and attack the problem or the opportunity, take advantage of the opportunity that we have in front of us right now. And then here's one that I've added in the last year. I was convicted by a culture impact team leader out in Hawaii by the name of Marty Tom. And she had on her team one person who was simply dedicated to intercession, to praying and covering the team with prayer. You absolutely need somebody like that on your team too. I think that's a great suggestion. But you know what? You can start with just one person, maybe 2, 3. You don't have to build this out to this extent, you know, but we're giving you some guidelines here, okay? So here's the next thing you need to do. You need to develop a budget. And here's why I say that. You need, whatever you start as a ministry, you need to support financially, okay? That makes sense. You do that all throughout your church. With everything that you do as a church, you support it with finances. First year, you need to support what's going on with the Culture Impact team. Set up a Culture Impact Center in your church, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Secondly, add your state pro-family organization. We call them family policy councils, and that's in year 2 when you're developing your budget plan. And then in year 3, add a national pro-family ministry, and there's some great ones out there. Of course, I'm with Family Research Council. It makes sense. Vision America. There are a lot of great ministries that you can support with your dollars, but develop a budget, okay? And then next, as I mentioned, set up a Culture Impact booth or center in your church. So there are a lot of things that you can do. I mean, you can simply set up a 6-foot table and put stuff on it, but we do make some fancy stuff for you, like a table throw and a spindle where you can put all kinds of resources like these that we provide when you buy that from Family Research Council. We will stock your Culture Impact Center for the first time as a part of that price that you see on the screen right now. So set up a Culture Impact Center in your church. Why? Because you need to have a place for people to come to get information and to be able to do activism. Register to vote, sign petitions, whatever, okay? And then begin your meetings. Now this is not the way to go about your ministry. Ready, fire, and aim. You need to be purposeful and think through what you need to do with regard to these meetings. When you start, you need to have prayer, of course, and then move in and take notes and make sure that you share what you did in the previous meeting so you're following up, giving out assignments to the people on the team, provide some updates on the current issues, prioritize the needs, the research, the alerts, and the action steps, and then discuss the next steps and make some assignments as a team. And just start some basic stuff, some basic projects that you can begin with. One of those is just leading the congregation to pray for elected officials. We make that easy for you. If you go to cultureimpact.org, you'll find on the downloads, which there are many, a prayer guide for U.S. elected officials. So lead your church to pray for people in office. I mean, it's biblical, right? Pray for kings and all in authority. That's what the Bible teaches, so that's what we ought to do. And then begin to move forward with other projects. In fact, when you look at this Culture Impact Team Manual, you get a little intimidated because it's kind of thick, right? But it's got everything you need in here, including a bunch of projects. In fact, there are over 100 practical projects that begin with adopt a child, a compassion ministry, to Z, zealously guard your religious freedom. So from A to Z, you got everything in between, from compassion ministries to prophetic ministries that a individual, a couple, a family, a small group, a whole church can do to make a positive salt and light difference in your church. So get started with your meetings and some practical projects, and then moving forward. Here's some things you need to do. First of all, stay informed. Stay on top of what's going on out there, and we provide you all kinds of great information on our website, frc.org, as well as cultureimpact.org. And there are a lot of great organizations out there who have tremendous information for you. Sign up for the Washington Update, which Tony puts out. Tony Perkins, our president, puts out every day. Also, you could sign up for Alliance Alerts from the Alliance Defending Freedom. You could sign up for Gary Bauer's daily alert. There are a lot of great things out there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, okay? But just stay informed, stay on top of what's going on. Secondly, communicate with the congregation. A lot of ways to do that, of course, through the worship folder, pastor making announcements from the pulpit, putting things on the website. of course, disseminating information from your Culture Impact Center, I hope. But there are ways to communicate with the congregation and do that. And again, start with some basic projects, as we've mentioned. This manual is full of them, so just pick something prayerfully and get started. And then follow the legal guidelines for pastors and churches, because one of the things that you're going to want to do, of course, is to conduct a church-wide voter registration drive, which we give you that Voter Impact Toolkit to help you accomplish that goal. But just stay legal, right? Don't get in trouble with your 501c3 status. Now, as far as staying informed, again, we have all these resources you can sign up for. Communicating with the congregation. Don't overuse the pastor in making announcements from the pulpit. Be very, very careful with that. Use it only when you need to, okay? As far as communicating. Start some basic projects. We talked about some of the entry levels, of course, praying for candidates. And then following the legal guidelines. It's pretty simple to do. We have a legal do's and don'ts card here in the Voter Impact Toolkit, and you can see exactly what a pastor can do and can't do, and what a church can do and can't do. All right, making a lasting impact. We're getting close to the end here of our time. Number one, you need to maintain your priorities. This is really important to me. Don't be too busy saving America that you don't spend time with your family. A lot of people get involved in this type of ministry and they get so buried in it that they can't see anything else. And I find that those people burn out pretty quickly. There's nothing, you need to spend time in the Word, you need to spend time in prayer. There's nothing like a humble heart before an open Bible. Spend time with the Lord, because that's where your strength is going to come from when you get attacked. Will you get attacked? Oh yeah, you will. So maintain your priorities. Now, avoid burnout. That's the next step in that, certainly. You need to learn how to delegate. I know a lot of Culture Impact Team leaders who are not doing it anymore. Why? Because they were trying to do it by themselves. Delegate, hand it off, multiply yourself. Remember what Jethro told Moses? He said to delegate. You're wearing these people out, Moses. You need to hand some of this off. So you need to get some people around you so you can avoid the burnout, okay? And then, thirdly, expect opposition. Believe me, you're going to get it from inside the church and outside the church. You're going to get it from people who are so heavenly minded they're no earthly good. I mean, they believe, well, you know what, the world's going to get worse and worse. Jesus is coming soon. Why should I do anything about this? Well,